Lock in. You may have heard this trending phrase before. What exactly does it mean? Well, according to good old ChatGPT, it means to be fully focused, dedicated, or deeply engaged in something, often implying a strong mental state where distractions are shut out and you're operating at peak performance. Sounds amazing, right? But how exactly does one get locked in? So first up, we have vision board, and everyone knows what a vision board is. And I don't really care about this because every single person knows what a vision board is. They know what to put it on, and they know to put, don't put materialistic things on there, put meaningful things, but words, pictures, all these different important things. And that is a very small part of it because so many different people, they have vision boards and just glorify it and keep it in their room, but they never achieve any of it. So I'm not going to waste any more time talking about vision boards on this channel or this video. Next thing, go. Next is the most important part of locking in. Having a system and having a plan. What I operate on and what I would advise you to is the 12-week year. Many different influencers, successful people, all these different brands, celebrities, all these different people you look up to, they follow this exact plan. It's actually a growing and rising plan in the kind of self-improvement community and all these different successful people because it's been shown it's working well. It's working extremely well for so many different people. So the idea of the 12-week year is you have 12 weeks instead of 12 months for a year. Wow, amazing, right? But the difference is 12 weeks means it's a lot shorter period of a time. When you compare 12 weeks to 12 months, 12 weeks is just about a quarter of one whole year. So that means all the same goals that you gave yourself a year, all the same goals that you're like, okay, by the end of December, I'm gonna accomplish. You only have until the end of March or whenever the end of your 12 weeks is. 12 weeks gives you a short amount of time. So that means you don't have time to mess around. You don't have time to play around. Every single thing that you do is pushing you forward. Every single thing that you do is letting you move forward because at the end of the day, we only have a limited amount of time on this earth. We only have a limited amount of time here. So you want to take advantage of every single hour, every single second. Think about it. How much time do you spend scrolling on your phone? How much time do you spend doing all these different things? That's why the 12-week year comes in handy because every single day matters. Every single hour matters. Each and every single small part, it doesn't leave room for compromise. You don't have room and time to be like, oh yeah, no, I can just put that off. No, you can't put things off. You have to get it done because it literally has to happen. If it doesn't happen, you don't accomplish your goals. And it also lets you be in a constant state of evaluation, which I'm also going to talk about later and exactly how to do that. But yeah, with the 12 weeks, then it's a shorter amount of time. That's the whole entire ordeal with it. So it gives you a smaller crunch time to go and accomplish those same goals. It also forces you to build a system rather than just winging it and just saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna accomplish that goal. How many times have we done that? I've done that for so many different years. I can't tell you how many goals I've had since I was a kid and all these sort of things. And I've accomplished quite a bit of goals, but I would say that at least half of them I have not accomplished. I did not accomplish that year. I did not do what I said I was going to do because I gave myself so much time. Think about it. When you have a deadline, it forces you to okay, I know that's on the calendar right now. I have to go and accomplish that. But then when you don't ever have a deadline, when you just let it be free, then a lot of the time, most people do not have the self-control to be able to go and execute at the right time. And having a system is so crucial and important with any goals, with locking in, at being any state of focusing. When you're focused, you don't have time to mess around with other things, but you also have to have a system of getting there. You can be the most focused person on earth, but if you do not have a system, if you don't have a path to get there, then it means nothing. Because think about it. I'm going to give you this example. Imagine you're in a plane and you're going from Los Angeles, California to New York City. That's where you're going to go. And for all my amazing non-American viewers, that is across the whole entire country of the United States of America. It's a pretty long distance. But the thing is let's say you are really focused. You know how to fly the plane and you know exactly what you need to do to keep the plane up in the air and to land it and all that. But you have the destination, but you do not have a direction. You have a general output. You know you need to go east, right? So you leave for the airport, but you're 3 degrees off of what you're actually supposed to. So instead of New York City, you end up in Washington, D.C. And for all the people who don't know, that is hundreds of miles away. Hundreds of miles away from the destination. just because there wasn't a plan. Just 3 degrees. 3 degrees is so minute, especially with such a big airplane, but it's the same thing with us. Just a small little thing, just a small different habit change can create such a humongous impact that grows over time. Because when you're leaving that airport, it looks like you're on track, but slowly over time, you're gonna see diverging lines. You're gonna see it and you're just like, wow, I really messed that up. I really could have gone so much better. I could have done so much better if I just stuck with a plan, if I just stayed focused. And what I do for my 12-week year, I actually use a Notion template, which I'll leave linked down in the description below. And that's what I use to organize my whole entire 12-week year, because I don't really like writing it, and I like it to be efficient to where I can track my habits. I can be able to track what I'm doing for 12 weeks. I can evaluate myself, and I can set these goals so I complete things. Also, another part I want to mention about a 12-week year is that because there's such a short amount of time, it forces you to constantly evaluate yourself. At the end of each 12 weeks, you're able to see goals and you're able to see, okay, what did I not execute? Because often it's not the plan, it's the execution that you're messing up on. It's the execution that, you need to work on. That, there's so many times I'm guilty of this, that I'm just like, oh, I need to switch the plan. This plan didn't work. I need to switch the plan. How many times are you going to switch the plan before you realize, wait, this is an execution problem. This is a problem that I have, that I'm not executing the plan that I already have. How many times are you going to keep switching? If you're in the gym and you work out, you realize that, hey, you cannot keep switching your same workout plan. There's so many people, they switch their workout routines and they wonder why they never grow, because they're not consistent in one thing. They don't execute it properly. They don't execute consistently. And that is the same thing with your life. That is the same thing going to any goals. So when you want to lock in, when you want to focus, you have to set up systems. You have to set up plans, because if you don't, it'll all slip away and you're just winging it, and who knows where you'll end up. You might end up, completing some goals, which is cool, but do you want to be the person that completes some goals, or do you want to be the person that accomplishes all their goals, that is truly successful, that is able to be like, oh yeah, I had these goals, and yeah, I completed them. I completed everything on my vision board. I completed everything that I said I was going to do. I have completed everything that I wrote down. That's the difference between you and the successful people that you admire. Another crucial step, a part of locking in, is to cut off things, to cut off vices, to cut off even friends, unfortunately. There's so many things that we're allowed to have access to, so many things that have open portals within our lives, whether it be music, the things we watch, such as movies or social media. Every single thing that has an entryway into your life, you have to monitor it. You have to be aware of what you're allowing in. So that means there are going to be a lot of things you have to cut off. There are a lot of things that you need to cut out. You want to be successful, you want to get married, you want to do all these different things, you want to have a successful relationship. I'm going to be honest, if your music's only about sex and drugs and your problems with women, and you're going to consistently listen to those things and let it play inside your ears over and over and over, these melodic melodies over and over again, then don't be surprised when those things start taking hold in your life. You do not want these things to grow more and more, because the thing is with a vice is that the longer you allow it on, the longer it's gonna clasp, the harder it's gonna clasp onto you, the harder it's gonna go and grab you and feel like it's constricting you and feel like it's weakening you over and over and over. That's why so many people are trapped by porn, because the thing is, they allow themselves to watch it one time and they're like, okay, I watched it one time, and then 5 times, and then 10 times, and then it becomes a once a week thing, then becomes every single day, and becomes multiple times a day. And then it gets to the point to where they can't even think without watching porn. They cannot think without thinking of women in a lustful image. They cannot think without, all these different sexual problems. And that's how we have so many different things that are sexualizing people in society, whether it be adults and people that are not adults, if you're understanding what I'm trying to get at. And you have to understand that the longer you allow something to grow, the deeper its roots are going to spread out. You have to think, I have to get a hold of this vice and I have to cut it off right now. Look at what you're listening to. And you also have to think that some things, other people might not have to cut off, but you might need to cut off. Realize that if you're struggling with lust, if you're struggling with porn, with masturbation, with different things like that, then you cannot go and watch the same rated R movies that all your friends are watching, because that scene that is in there, it's not going to be good for you. It's going to, maybe stir up troubles later on, because you allow yourself to go back into that. Then you're like, oh man, do you think Like, do you allow a person that is trying to lose weight into a giant pantry full of snacks and cookies and all these different sweets and delicacies? Do you allow that to happen? No. So why would you do the same for yourself? If you're trying to go along this path, then how are you gonna listen to only music about violence and killing and all these things? And you're wondering, why am I having thoughts of violence? Why do I have anger issues? Why am I really struggling with this? Why do I really why do I feel like I don't have control of my thoughts? Or why do I feel like these intrusive thoughts? Well, it might be because of what you're listening to and what you're watching. So many different people have said it. If you don't believe my own word, listen, there's literally an interview with XXXTentacion, and he literally talks about how the music industry is built upon all these melodic beats, all these melodic things that happen over and over and over, and they play within your mind. You know, they play these different songs over and over within your own mind, and it teaches you these things. Like,
if you're going to listen to an artist consistently, and it's your favorite artist, you most definitely should understand who it is that you're looking into or listening to. There's brainwashing that gets involved in music, in the music industry, like recording things backwards and all these different things that people don't know, frequency channelings and different things like that. So you never know who you're with unless you fully dwell into them as a person.
You know, a lot of them are paid to talk about these certain things. I'm not trying to hate or come against some people that make music, but I'm just saying that you have to be very careful, because if you do not cut off certain things now, it's just going to become harder and harder and harder. You know, there are even people like even Michael Jackson all the way back then. He literally talked about if these are literally mantras that you're singing.
Singers, when they sing songs, it's like a mantra. When you repeat a chorus over and over and over. So when a kid hears a song and he starts singing that chorus over and over and over, then you start to hear it in the alpha state into the subconscious mind. So you start to become the song or become what you're saying.
Like, have you ever looked at the choruses of some of your favorite songs? Like, really? Like, you know, sometimes it's like they're literally saying they're talking about selling your souls. You know, they're talking about, oh, you know, they're doing like different drugs that I cannot name, or this video is gonna get age restricted. But all these different things over and over and over, you're letting it play, you're letting it repeat. And as you're doing that, roots are growing deeper. Each time over and over, you're starting singing it over and over. It's gonna grow deeper. All these different problems. You have to learn how to cut off. Also, friends. There's certain friends that you need to learn to distance yourself. It doesn't, when I say cut off, I don't necessarily mean, you know, zero talking to them or just be like, no, I hate you now. No, I don't think that's a good way. I don't think that is a responsible or emotionally intelligent way of doing things. You know, no matter how many different people say things like that, I don't think that is necessarily a responsible or a wise thing to do, or a mature thing to do, because realistically, like all these people that, you know, they might have habits that may not align with yours, morals that don't align with yours. It doesn't necessarily mean that they themselves, you need to hate them. But it just means that your lives do not line up, and you have to realize that, okay, there has to be a good amount of distance from us. And that means, it doesn't mean I hate you, but it means we cannot be in the same amount of contact. We cannot be, you know, all buddy anymore. You know, if your friend is doing drugs and, you know, you're trying to get off of that, if you're not trying to get into that, then you're not going to do that. And even if you don't struggle with certain things, you just don't want different people around your environment, because, you know, they always say that you are the sum of your 5 closest friends. The 5 closest friends you have, you're some of that. So imagine you have a person, oh, this person is very lazy and they're only about seeking pleasure and stuff. And, you know, you maybe have a good friend that's like, oh, they're very productive and that's helping you. But then you also have another friend and they have a cheating problem and they're constantly cheating, and, you know, you've made it aware, and it's something that they don't even see as morally wrong. And, you know, you can constantly go around, and it's like you're getting all these different parts. You might have some good friends in there, but you also have some really negative ones as well. So you really want to think about it. You want to think, is this something that is holding me back? Is this something that is going to negatively impact me in the future? Are these things that I'm struggling with already? Do I need to put distance? Do I need to separate myself? And I know it's not always easy, but it's necessary. The hardest things are sometimes the most necessary things in life. See, and you might be thinking, why do I need to cut out these things? You know, I have strong resistance. I'm able to resist all these things. Yeah, a lot of people, you know, you can I'm going to go back to the same analogy. You know, let's use a mouse. You can put a mouse inside of a room full of cheese and crackers and grapes and all these different foods. Think about it, in a giant pantry full of all these different foods and delicacies. And you could train that mouse, trained and domesticated to where it will not eat that food. But eventually, over time, it's eventually going to start getting hungry, and it's going to be harder to resist those urges. It's going to be harder to resist those things that come naturally to it. It's the same thing with us. And then, that mouse is eventually going to go and eat the food. After a long bit of time, it's eventually going to break. No matter how much you domesticated it, no matter how much self-control you have, if you allow yourself to be in the same environment over and over continuously, you will eventually start slipping. It all starts with the mind first. You start getting tempted within your mind, and then later it starts with your actions, and you're like, maybe I might. Maybe you scroll onto something you're not supposed to. Maybe, you're doing something you're not supposed to, and you start with these small little actions, and then you fully indulge because you're like, well, I already started a little bit. Let me just fully indulge into it. And that is the exact same thing. No matter how strong-willed you think you are, you cannot resist these things. And that is one of the biggest things. One of the things that the enemy does is that, you can't ever truly stop your purpose, but you can always delay it. And the thing is, we have a limited amount of time on earth. I want you to think of it like time is a constant flow. It is a constant current. It is constantly moving. And if you're not moving with it, then you're staying stagnant. And if you can stay stagnant, in the same trials and the same tribulations and the same problems over and over and over and over and over again, then you're just gonna stay behind while the current is moving. At least slow motion is better than no motion. Because at least if you're moving slowly, you're moving with the current. But if you're not moving the current at all, everything is going past you. And you are eventually going to die because the only thing that's promised to each and every single person that is born is death. Literally, unfortunately, every single person will die. And that is just the case. That is the truth. And the longer you take to accomplish different things, the longer you take to go and accomplish these dreams, the things that you have, then the harder it is going to be. That's why they say the 20s, you really have to maximize your time because that is the only short period of time, where you don't have the responsibilities of maybe being a parent or, being older, and your body is a lot younger and physically capable. You can't do the same things when you're 20 you can't do the same things at 70 that you were doing at 20. You really have to be realistic. You might, some of the fittest 70-year-olds, they still don't have the same energy as a 20-year-old. It is just facts. It is just science. It is just the truth. You do not want to stay stagnant because you cannot cut off something. One tip that is so crucial, I think is truly so important and deep to be able to cut off things is put yourself in a period of isolation. And I know this might not be the easiest thing for a lot of people. You might be in school, you might be a full-time student, you might have work, and you might live with your family like I do. I'm a college student, college freshman, and I live at home. I do online college, so it's not necessarily the easiest to where I can just be perfectly alone by myself. But you want to be as close to as alone and by yourself as possible. You want to be able to just be in a period to where you're not being influenced by all these different distractions. You're not being influenced by friends, by family, by social media. You just need to be in a period of state to where you're just closed off from a lot of different things. It helps you go and really look at things that you're struggling with. Look at things that you really want and just evaluate so much. You want to get into a period of isolation for, I would recommend, if you possibly can, a week. A week would be absolutely perfect, but I understand some people can only do for a few days. Some people can do, even just one day can help. Just get into a period of isolation. You do not have a bunch of social media playing. You don't have a bunch of YouTube videos playing. Maybe you just read or do something that's more relaxing to where you feel like you're in a calmer state, to where you're not being influenced by so many different things. So that way you're truly able to understand what are the things coming from your own mind? What are the things that you really need help with, the things that you really need to work on, the things that you need to cut out. And often in that period of isolation that I went on in 2024 for a week, I realized that a lot of the same friends that I have, it's not that they're bad people. It's just they're not the right people that I want to be around. They're not the people that reflect values that I want, and it made me realize a lot of other things. I don't miss a lot of things. I don't miss, a lot of different things about school or, some social aspects of it. I don't miss wasting all this time. There's so many different things that you're going to evaluate, so many things that you're going to realize about yourself in this period of isolation that are so crucial. And I'd recommend that you truly take it. Just take the chance. I know it sounds hard, but take the chance of going into a period of isolation. And it doesn't mean that you can't absolutely talk to no one. Obviously your safety issues and all that different stuff, but as close as you can to just being alone by yourself. Maybe that might be being in your room for a week, or maybe you have to get lost in nature for a couple days. Maybe you go out camping or something. You immerse yourself in a completely different environment. You put yourself to where you're not being influenced by all the different things in the world. That means don't look at the news a bunch. Truly, unless you're getting hit by a blizzard, don't. Just be in a period of isolation. Be in that small period of time. Maybe communicate it. Be like, okay, I'm gonna be in a small period of isolation for maybe a couple days or for this week. If I'm just talking a bit less, that is why. Make it clear to these people around you. Maybe if that's something you need to do. I didn't do that, and that caused a bit of friction. But whatever you have to do, get into a period of isolation so you can understand what things you need to cut off. Because when other things aren't telling you, when other things aren't showing you all these different things, you truly realize what are your own opinions, what are your own words, what are your own values, what are the things that you truly see as long-term impacts, things that are truly important in that period of isolation. Next, you have to be in a constant state of evaluation. You have to constantly check at what you're doing, check your habits, check at every single action that you're taking in the current moment, because it's so easy to slip away. It's so easy for things to, go to the other end of the spectrum. You can be super locked in and focused, and you get to a point where you're just going through the motions, and sure, you're doing somewhat productive stuff, but there's so much more you could be doing. You do not want to let that slip. You want to make sure you're focused. You remain in a constant state of improvement. So that means when you're self-evaluating, make sure you're checking, where do you want to be in the next year? Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be in the next 10 years? These are all important things to think about. Because if you're not ever thinking about the future, then you're only going to think about the present. And if you're only thinking about the present, you're only going to think about what feels good now, what makes you happy now, rather than what might be better for you in the future, what might be better for you later, what might be better for your kids, your grandkids, generations beyond you. Not even just generations beyond you, but you yourself. You might think that, working out hurts right now, but when you're 50 and you have back pain because you didn't build any muscle, your body's aging away and you're getting all these problems, and then now you want to get fit. There's so many people that struggle with that already. So really think about it. Where do you want to be in 1, 5, and 10 years? I would truly self-evaluate, and I would do it every single week. It's something you have to be in a constant state of doing. Actually, every single day, you should think about what your actions are. But what I would recommend is at least once a week, at the end of each week, you go and you say, okay, let me take some time. Let me look at my habits. Let me look at the goals that I've accomplished. Let me look at the things that I've done. And these are all things I do constantly and regularly. When you work on a 12-week year, then it's just something that's going to be a part of it. You're going to realize that, okay, hey, I've been slacking off on this little part. So that's why I didn't achieve my goals. That's why this is happening. Not, I need to change my plan. There's so many people that say, I need to change my plan. I need to change my plan 50 different times. Why do you need to change your plan so much if you can't even execute the one you already have correctly? Think about it. You cannot even accomplish the simple task that you've already given yourself, and you're saying it's the plan, not you. That's an execution problem, not a plan problem. And that leads into another important part of it. Define yourself. You need to learn to define yourself. Not go and just compare yourself to every single other person when you're doing these self-evaluations. No, you're evaluating yourself. You need to focus on your own track. Focus on your own goals. Don't get distracted by your friends, your family, or other famous people. Not even me. The same goals that I have might not correspond to what you want in life. Might not correspond to what you need in life. You have to be optimistically realistic. That's something I like to say. I don't know if that's even a real phrase per se, but when I say optimistically realistic, one thing that I learned when I was listening to a podcast is a lot of the top entrepreneurs, a lot of the top business people, a lot of these top successful people, they're unrealistically optimistic. They're not these people that are just like, no one's ever done it before, then I can't do it. Or let me think a bit more, let me just small, make it smaller, make the plan smaller. How about we just make it a lot easier to obtain? No, you cannot think like that. If you truly want to improve yourself, if you truly want to lock in into these 12 weeks, if you truly want to lock in and change your life. You can't do the achievable, quick, little, easy things, because then what's the whole entire point? What's the point? There's not going to be any struggle. There's not going to be any growth. You have to think about that. When have you ever actually improved when something was super easy? For all those who have a younger sibling, or maybe you have younger cousins, or you played against a little kid in like maybe a sport, or or a little video game, and you played against them, you didn't really get any better. You would beat them so much, but it would be so easy that you didn't even really have to try. You didn't have to push yourself. You didn't have to break any boundaries. That's the thing. If you are just basically realistic, if you're pessimistically realistic, then you're gonna always hold yourself back. But when you're optimistically realistic, then you're always gonna be like, there's something more I can do. There's a lot more that I can achieve. I can be able to do this. Like, let me put this goal. And it doesn't, I say realistic, a part of it as well. That doesn't mean that, if you don't make any money, you're just gonna make $1 million within 1 month. Like, that is not realistic, because most people, that is almost impossible. Like, the small amount of people that would ever be able to do that, like, at all. And then the small amount of people that you want to say you make $0 and you go to $1 million in a month, that has to be a very, very good plan. But that's the point. You have to be optimistic, realistic. You're optimistic, you have plans, and you're hopeful, but you also think within a bit of natural guidelines. You don't think out of these like absurdly crazy things. And I'm not saying like starting a big company or things are absurd, because those are things that are possible. But when I, like my previously mentioned thing, or like if let's say you're 260 pounds and at the end of the month you want to weigh 160, that is just not realistic. That is not optimistically realistic. That is just not realistic. That means you would have to drop like almost 100 pounds. What did I say? Like 100 pounds? Really? 100 pounds in 1 month? You would have to think, is that even healthy? That's another part of it. When you're optimistically realistic, you also think, what is healthy for you? Not just a part about that goal, not just about what you're trying to achieve, but you think, okay, is this healthy for me? Is this gonna cause some other harm in another area? Is this gonna inflict something on me that might cost me a lot later? That's the thing. You have to think about that. Be optimistically realistic. So be in a constant state of self-evaluation. Don't let yourself off the hook. Let yourself constantly be growing. If you're not constantly growing, then you're gonna fall behind. That's as simple as that. There's so many people that get older and they never really push themselves. They stay at the same pace and they wonder why they get the same exact results. You want change? Change has to start with you. And you can only identify if there's change if you identify what you're already doing. So go and do self-evaluation. Don't get distracted by women. Don't get distracted by trying to seek the approval of others, trying to seek, people that aren't going to lead you towards a better future, that aren't going to lead you to purpose, because at the end of the day, that's still a pleasure that you're seeking rather than purpose, Why would you go and try and, it's so easy these days, you see everyone is in a happy relationship, everyone's a happy couple, everyone feels like everyone has someone already. And, it's so easy to see all these Instagram reels, all these different videos, and you're just like, man, am I really going to be alone forever? And you, my friend, you're not going to. No matter how many times you think that, no matter how many times you're like, everyone else, the whole friend group except for me. But your time is coming, but right now it's your chance to lock in. For the ladies, lock in. The perfect man will go and pursue you. Not the perfect man. There's no person that's perfect. But the right man for you will pursue you. For men, you'll find the right woman that is worth pursuing. It's the same thing. Time, just how older people, they always say, it just happened. It'll just happen. It'll happen eventually. But first you have to lock in. First you have to focus on things that are important, not just, meaningless. Because if you just chase and chase and chase, it's like butterflies, You can go and chase a bunch of butterflies, or you can build a garden and it can have all the butterflies come. I know that's such an old man saying, but it is so true. Why focus on just running around meaningless like a chicken with their head cut off instead of build yourself to where you're ready, build yourself to where you can support a family, build yourself to where you can marry. You're not in this crunch where you feel like, oh man, I really can't afford this. I can't afford to be in a relationship. I can't spend the time equally, because work-life balance is not real.
it's not a real thing. You're never truly gonna have it 50-50. There's always gonna be one thing that's gonna weigh out more than the other thing. And at this point of your life, you need to lock in and just focus on building your career, building that business, pursuing the right things that will bring you what you want in the future. You have to think about it this way. God gives you a plan. He gives you a straight line. And when you follow his plan, when you follow the plan that he has for you, then all these other things that you see at this side that you're tempted to go off and like go and pursue yourself, these things will naturally come and gravitate. They'll cross paths with you. They'll happen to come towards you. That's how so many people are saying, like, once you focus on purpose, all these things will start, like, it feels like everything starts to just like come towards you. And it's just like, that's how it works, because when you're so focused on purpose, when you're so focused on the things that are right, everything else will fit in its place. But if you just run around trying to chase every single thing that you see walking by, then you're not gonna capture anything really. And you might, but it might end up not being something that's worth it, something that's meaningful. That's how you have so many guys that complain and say, oh, these women, they took all my money and like all these different things. Or like women, they're like, man, these guys are like abusive, or all these sort of things. But really, it's because you haven't leveled yourself up to where you can get the echelon of a person that matches what you want, matches the needs that you have, matches the wants that you have. You first have to better yourself. Like, you have to ask, would you ever date a person that is like would you date yourself in the basic sum of things? Would you date yourself? Are you someone that you would see is like, yeah, that's a valuable person, that's something I would be willing to spend the rest of my life with? You're not looking to find someone to divorce. It is for life. Marriage is for life. Keep it that way. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm shivering because we had a cold front here in Texas and it's freezing my hands, and I've been out here so long. But that is the exact thing. If you just focus on yourself, the right things will come. The right things will show up to where it'll all be set up. That's the whole thing. I know, like, a lot of old people say that, and people are like, man, that sucks. But in due time, because think about it, are you really ready right now? Are you really ready? Have you actually had a chance to bulk up? And I don't just mean physically, but spiritually and mentally as well. Do you have a high emotional intelligence? Are you mature enough to be in a relationship right now? Do you take care of your physical body? Are you ready for something like that? Are you spiritually ready as well? Do you spend time praying? Do you spend time, reading the word? Like, you want to do all these different things, but you're not ready for it yet. You're not ready. And in due time, it will show up. Due time, things will come into your life, but you have to wait. And during that waiting period of time, that is when you're meant to build up. That is when you're meant to grow and to continue to better yourself, continue to seek purpose over pleasure. Now, the last thing is to not lock in selfishly. You have to lock in selflessly. And I know it's so easy in this lock-in process to only focus on yourself, to feel like you need to focus on yourself. And I've already spoken about, going into isolation and different things like that. Like, those are definitely important. Those are things that you need to do that are a part of it. But at the end of the day, you don't lock in just for yourself. You have to lock in for a purpose greater than you, a bigger mission, to help others, to build a community, to do something that is going to outlast you. Like, for me, it's purpose over pleasure, this whole entire thing that I have, and to encourage other people, to make them feel like they're not alone in the self-improvement space, that they're not alone in wanting to get better, to improve, to change their lives, and they have the power to do all these different things. And yeah, and I hope this is a cool shot, because that's a part of it. Like, this shot that I'm trying to get right now, I hope it looks cool. Yeah, it's just, you do things, you do make sacrifices so other people can be able to flourish, other people can benefit. And you might think, but I don't want other people to be successful. There's not enough success for all of us. But there is. The thing is, when you have to look at it from this perspective. If you've ever been out at night and you've seen a beautiful sky like I'm seeing right now, then you realize that the moon will never complain about being outshined by any of these stars. All these other stars, even the planet Venus, I can see right over here, shining nice and bright. But the moon is, usually the brightest thing you can see. And it's all these different beautiful stars. But the stars don't ever complain. The stars don't ever say, man, I really wish I was as bright as the moon. Because they know they fit into their place. There are constellations that people see that, see different beautiful images and all these different, beautiful dots in the skies. The stars, they have a sparkle, they have a glimmer. The moon doesn't have that. But together they make a beautiful night sky. And that is the same thing with us as people. When you look at us, when you look at humanity, when we decide to raise each other up, when we decide to pull each other up, rather than just trying to pull ourselves up, focus on being able to improve yourself, but improve yourself so others can benefit as well, so other people can see the benefits of that as well. Imagine how amazing it would be if each and every single person focused on improving and helping others and growing and getting better. Think about how much it could improve each and every single one of us. That is the exact same thing. Imagine if from the time you're little, you had friends, you had a community. Oh, and yeah, that's the whole entire thing. Focus on improving, focus on getting better, focus on helping others. And when you bring other people up, it's like a rising tide. A rising tide raises all ships. When we all rise together, everything is able to go to another level. Everything is able to improve to another level. Everything is able to get so much better. But it all starts with you. So this lock-in process, it isn't a selfish thing. It's something that's truly selfless, to where you're giving yourself to others. You're able to, the sacrifices to record this video, literally this light fell on my face because it's so windy and cold. But that's a part of sacrifice, because I want it to look like a nice shot. I want it to keep it entertaining. I want it to be better and have meaning, and hopefully it looks cool. I don't know, editing Christian, maybe it's not. I don't know. But truly, when you focus on improving and getting better, you're doing it not just for you, but for the people around you, for the people that you love, for the people that you'll never meet. There's so many people I will never meet. Truth be told, as sad as it is, I will never meet 99% of you guys. And I would hope that, maybe one day, when this gets bigger, this movement gets bigger and all that, we do meet and greets and all that. But in real life, I see people there. I have a lot of people that watch in Germany, that watch in Indonesia, that watch in the UK, that watch in Australia, that watch in America. And it's even here, it's so big and vast that I'm probably never going to meet so many people. But the videos that, even if you just watch this one video and you never subscribe, the things that you learn, the ways you improve, that you'll be able to be hit by the ripple that I make. And then, in ripples in a pond, when one thing ripples off of one thing, it goes and continues to make ripples over and over and over again. And it just continues to hit the whole entire lake or pond or whatever it is. That's the same thing with all of us. If we all improve, if I can just make this one video and it helps one of you, I don't know how many people it's going to help. Maybe there are 10 people in your life, and you end up, because I end up helping you become a better person, you're a better person for those 10 people. And those 10 people, they see that and they become better people because of that. And then, maybe they each know 10 people, and it's just this exponential effect. That's the same thing you have to think about it as. When you're locking in, you're setting an example. Maybe it's for your family, for people you'll never know, just to improve, for your future kids, for your, you don't want to make the same mistakes that your family did. You don't want to make the same mistakes that your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors, whoever it is. You don't want to make the same mistakes. You want to improve, you want to get better. And so it's this whole entire point of locking in, this whole entire point of purpose over pleasure. You're choosing the harder path, that it might not feel as good right now, and it might suck during it. But you always rest easy knowing that this is something bigger than me. This is something that'll push me. And that's how you dig deeper. Even when you feel like giving in, when you feel like giving into lust, when you feel like giving into all these different things, when you feel like selling out, when you think, no, this is bigger than me. When you know that it's bigger than you, you can go so much further in life.
locking in isn't for the faint of heart. And I bet if you made it this far into the video, you already understand it isn't. And while I could leave some inspirational message, I'm just gonna leave you with this. With the younger you, the youthful version of yourself, the young, little, naive you, they had all those goals and dreams and visions and plans. Would they give up? Would they throw in the towel? Would they say this small little sacrifice isn't worth the dreams? Small little pain for every single passion you've had? I'd like to think not. I'd like to think younger you is looking and smiling proud. You're making all those same dreams, visions, and goals that we had become a reality. Lock in, because we live with purpose over pleasure.